distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Just before I walked into this room, a number of people talked to me and said how much passion and energy is amongst this crowd, and I can feel it. It is truly a privilege to welcome you all this afternoon to this very special event of East-West, the Art of Dialogue. The East-West, the Art of Dialogue initiative brings young emerging leaders from my part of the world and the US in an intensive, very intensive exchange. The only complaint both the Americans and Egyptians complained about is how intensive the program was. But I had no sympathy for them. They are young enough, and the opportunity, I think, and they'll speak about it, was unique. Together, the fellows, Egyptians and Americans, worked together in Egypt in June of this year and in the United States in October, not only to learn about each other, but also to develop various paths of understanding and to create collaborative projects that they'll talk about. But let me not steal the key focus of this meeting, and that is the fellows. I would like at this time to ask three very dear friends of mine to come to the stage with 6 fellows, and they will lead this meeting.
For starters, I was somehow reminded quite recently of a conversation that Shafiq and I had a number of years back. I believe it was in Davos, Switzerland, and Shafiq was talking about his personal family history. And I recalled that his father was a diplomat. And that somehow has stuck with me because I think it must run in the blood. Although Shafiq is not a governmental diplomat, I think you really exemplify the essence of a diplomat, someone who is constantly working, both professionally and very personally with a project like this, to build personal relations, better personal relations. And I think that's what this project really represents. So the purpose of today is almost precisely that. It's how can we further broaden our understanding of East and West? And what drew you to this fellowship program?
Why I came here to this fellowship is that I felt that this is what I'm looking for. It was a huge opportunity. I had a dream and I went after it. I found myself writing lots and lots of ideas for action projects, and here I am.
And of course, it is my honor to be a part of this outstanding fellowship. And I'm now recharging my battery, and I'll be back to Egypt with many projects and ideas.
And I was pointed in the direction of this fellowship, and it just sounded like an amazing opportunity. I mean, Egypt is just so, it's an integral part of the global community. So I applied and somehow was accepted, and it's been an absolute honor, and I've learned something every day.
I always believe that there's a lack of information between US and Egypt, and I thought that this program is one step to end the gap between understanding between the East and West. And frankly speaking, when I applied, I thought that it's a long shot, that probably there is someone better, but apparently they chose me, and I'm here. Thank you.
I did apply for this program because I felt like it's not only opportunity to understand other people and other culture, but for me it was opportunity to meet myself in other creatures and other figures, other human beings and other environment.
My aspiration to serve in this fellowship was bent on my deep belief that citizen diplomacy and the role of citizen diplomats will be the global peacemakers for the 21st century. And I very much wanted to carry that mantle as a young leader in the United States and join my Egyptian counterparts in doing the same. So thank you very much for being here with us tonight.
What's the basic architecture of the program? What does that actually mean? Could you give us just what the architecture of the program looks like, a snapshot?
We're a cadre of 10 Egyptians and 10 Americans from the ages of 24 to 35, and we're seeking to realize the vision that Mr. Gaber had laid out, to be on a new frontier of discovery, following the footsteps of those thinkers and artists who traversed the muddy Atlantic in the 18th and 19th centuries, and much easier for us to do so on jet planes today, but still reaching out and trying to discover each other's differences and explore our commonalities. And I think what we've really done is get in touch with our shared humanity. So we traveled in June to Egypt for 2.5 weeks just before the June 30th events. And we traveled to Cairo, to Alexandria, and to Luxor, met with political leaders, academics, public intellectuals, artists, doctors, fashion designers. It was an extraordinary trip. And then the Egyptian Fellows have had the chance to come here to the United States, arriving a couple weeks ago. We've traveled to New York City, to New Haven, to Atlanta, to Leesburg, Virginia, and now here we are in our nation's capital of Washington, D.C., doing the same thing, meeting with the folks who are making the decisions that are leading this new century, and trying to continue to explore our friendships and build trust amongst each other.
I think that we came here to vanquish fear, in a sense. That we came here to give informations about Egyptians, to give a little bit of how do we think and how do we act.
But I was impressed how people are welcoming and friendly, and they keep on having this friendly conversation with you. So this leads you to knowing that there are lots of misconceptions happening between the two societies. Nobody asked me about terrorism or religions or anything like that. They were actually, oh, Egypt, I really want to go there.
No one asked about the camels. No one thought people were on camels. I want to get that in there too. But really, it's just people were so curious, like what's actually going on over there. There was so much interest in really people trying to understand what's going on, which was...
The States here, it's like a platform where everyone has an opportunity to grow.
There's a difference between the political agenda for the country or the government and the people's emotions toward each other. I think that at the end of the day, we all want to have good education, good health system, and we all want to have good money at the bank. So I feel that we crossed the Atlantic Ocean just to meet reflections of ourselves.
Some of the assumptions that may have been made about Americans, that we were all wealthy or life was easy here and we were ranked number one in education and healthcare and everything, and that those realities are simply false.
Both countries are trying to found a functioning democracy. We came here after the shutting down, and for a second we were like, wow, you have this as well here.
Going to the oldest civilization in the world and seeing the discoveries that have been made in science and engineering and architecture and literature and the arts, breathtaking, and even more than I anticipated that it would be.
They used to say to us that you will have this culture shock when you came to US, but actually I think that I will have this culture shock when I'm back to Egypt.
Moving along your lines, there are certainly a number of policymakers in this room here. What would you want to tell these policymakers? One is, if you're going to make decisions about Egypt, go there first. That's what I hear you saying. Other points that you would like to get across to those who do have substantial influence in this room?
Give yourself a chance to experience the struggles and the problems of the daily life of every human being.
The rest of the world is watching. That became abundantly clear. And every move the U.S. makes has ripples far beyond the political infighting in D.C.
I would like to say that when you are about to take a decision, think of the numbers and the figures in front of you as humans, as lives, and as a potential kind of partners for you. And I think that only will solve a lot of problems.
I thank my friend Shafiq and Jihan for putting this together, because if there's one thing that we have a shortage of, it's precisely this kind of interaction, person to person, and only good things can come from this. We live in a world today where actually, if I just have the spark of an idea now, if I just have a spark of an idea, I actually can go to a company in Taiwan, Delta, they'll actually design that for me. I can skip over to Hangzhou and Alibaba, and my friend Jack Ma, who runs Alibaba, he'll actually line up 30 cheap Chinese manufacturers to make that for me. I can then jump over to Seattle, Amazon.com, my buddy Jeff Bezos, he'll do my fulfillment and delivery and gift wrap it for my friend Shafiq for Christmas. I can go to actually Craigslist to find my accountant, and Freelancer.com will get someone to do my logo for $19.95 unless someone bids $18.95. They're all commodities now. What isn't a commodity is this. In the world we're going into, you better be constructing your society in a way that maximizes the ability of everyone to do that. One of the places you really get a lot of that is through diversity. A lot of different people rubbing up against each other from a lot of different perspectives. One of the things that's always impressed me about Egypt is the incredible human talent there. Egypt needs order, but it needs order plus. It needs order with a vision and an imagination that says we really do have incredible human potential and we can unleash it on the world and on our own future.
My mom used to tell me all the time, if you want someone to hear you, listen to them first. Otherwise, you're talking at them and not to them. And I think these fellows learned that here and in Egypt as well. If I learned anything in my work in academic life and my work since then, it's that we're one species. We all want the same things. We all need the same things. We all need to understand each other as being the same. And projects like this make it happen. They're transformative moments like that. This program, Shafiq, is one of those moments. I think we need more of this citizen diplomacy because the world's getting too small and our knowledge of each other is too limited. And the projects that they've developed have given me a sense that we haven't seen the end of these folks yet. I mean, they're going to be doing great things.
Sincere thanks to everyone who's with us tonight, and of course to Mr. Gaber. We are designers and artists. We believe that creative expression possesses a powerful ability to communicate ideas and emotions in a manner that transcends restrictive definitions of culture. We are also Gaber Fellows, and we seek to push forward the discourse between East and West. We have been investigating art's place in this dialogue, and we have come to understand that when an artist travels to a new culture, they are listening, playing the role of observer, and the place in which they find themselves is speaking, sometimes in shouts and sometimes in whispers. In turn, they reply through their art. This is the nature of the dialogue. In the spirit of the work of generations of artist travelers, from the Orientalist painters of the 19th century, whose work played an essential part in the inspiration for the Gaber Fellowship, through current examples, we seek to establish a sustainable artist-in-residence exchange and exhibition series between Egypt and America that will enrich the cultural explorations of the Gaber Fellowship and deepen its current partnership network.
So our program is about an exchange that will involve 6-week residency programs for a small, carefully selected group of artists who work in different mediums, including photography, film, creative writing. It would encourage participating artists to immerse themselves fully in the river of daily life in their new homes, acting as embedded citizen artists and opening their eyes, ears, and minds to the new experience. This project will help cultivate a new and vibrant dialogue, a dialogue between the East and West, a dialogue of collaboration and shared experience, of understanding and compassion, simply spoken from one human being to another.
The program that Shafiq and Jim managed to put together really has made the best out of diversity. Not just diversity because there were 10 Egyptian fellows and 10 American fellows, but diversity because we all came from a vast array of different backgrounds, life experiences, and viewpoints about the world. What we hope to do is to start a series of comic books that will use parallel narratives to express some of these themes. For thousands of years, from pyramid art to PowerPoint, images can communicate what otherwise takes several pages of text to swallow.
Before the first wave of the revolution in 2011, a man named Magdi Shafi'i published one of the most controversial comic books in the Egyptian history. It was called Metro. Metro was about a young man taking a stand against a corrupted government. A few days later, this comic book was banned. It was not available in any bookstore in Egypt. Why would it be banned? Simply because this medium, comic books, are a powerful medium that even the government is scared of.
We view comic books as not only a way of forcing change and of complaining about the status quo, but also as a way of informing the youth about a lot of the ideas that they wouldn't necessarily have access to otherwise. Our first comic, which we are presenting today, explores the parallel creations of the United States Constitution, the world's oldest, and the 2012 Egyptian Constitution, which lasted 9 months and was one of the world's shortest. We also hope that by inviting thought leaders, academics, and others to give their own voices and lend their own ideas to future projects, we can find other ways to make themes like gender rights, minority rights, more accessible and universal, because a country's problems are no longer just its own. Everybody's in this together. As I believe Jim pointed out, the youth all want the same thing around the world, and it's a matter of learning to communicate it. Thank you.
And Shafiq, you'll be pleased to know that an Egyptian daily paper has offered Ahmed to do a comic strip based on the visit. The only thing that I asked for was a little more hair when they did. And Daniel wanted to make sure his jaw got squared like a superhero.
According to recent polls done by the Arab American Institute, perceptions of both sides of Egypt and the United States are increasingly negative. When you ask an everyday American what you think about Egypt, the answers are always like pyramids, Sphinx, and desert. And I have personally experienced this during my living in the UK when I met some people who actually think that we as Egyptians walk in the streets like this.
This is what we want to combat with our project. And we want to do it by giving more people the same kind of experience that we had in our fellowship, which is to erase a stereotype and replace it with a personal interaction and a personal connection.
So here's our idea to achieve. It's an interactive public art installation. Think of it as a window between the worlds. Imagine that you are going by your day, walking in a shopping mall, a park, or a university food court, and you see this screen and it grabs your attention. You see someone waving to you from the other part of the world. You may wave back. You may walk up to the screen and join your new friend in a simple activity. Your interactions could be as simple as looking at an Egyptian in the eye and share a smile, or as complicated as signing up to become pen pals with the person who you just gave him an intercontinental high five.
We got to do it.
As Mr. Gaber requested, ahlan wa sahlan, masa al khair.
We believe that humans come in all colors, all races, all kind of beliefs. Some love Red Sox, others hate the Red Sox. For me, I try to understand what is the Red Sox. But we all share one thing in common, that we all would like to live a long, healthy life.
So chronic disease, aka the silent killer, is the #1 killer around the world. Egypt ranks amongst the top 10 countries with the highest rates of diabetes. The United States, on the other hand, ranks amongst the top 10 countries with the highest number of diabetics.
But what, as individuals, can we do?
So for our action project, we now want to pilot the program in Egypt. And the unique aspect of this program is that we will be incorporating a cross-cultural aspect in which communities in Kentucky will facilitate in the development and implementation of the program in Egypt. In both countries, one of the top 3 concerns is health. Well, this epidemic, diabetes, is a common enemy and a common challenge that will bring communities together in a cross-cultural understanding.
We can say that at the end of the day, we are all equal in love and debt and death. No one can help you with love. And we were hoping that you will help us in death. But we all can try to postpone death.
And tonight, we'd like to invite you to join us in this cross-cultural solution to this cross-cultural problem.
Thank you.
Tom, are you getting these are some of the, right? You bring together 20 really wonderful young people. You come up with a whole bunch of really creative ideas.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. It gives me honor and pleasure to stand in front of you all tonight, carrying with me the glory of Tahrir Square and the will of the Egyptian people for a better future. However, our future is threatened by the energy and water shortage, especially when you know that Egypt must double its production of electricity by 2025, and that Egypt loses over 80% of its water resources because of the inefficient management on agriculture use only.
This is the Nile, and you'll find that, boy, that's a striking image. 99% of Egyptians are actually on the grid, but most of them live right within a few miles of the Nile. We're standing at the gates of the future. Two of the things that really do limit everyone's ability to sustain local security, local sovereignty, and local stability are energy and water. Power crisis darkens outlook for Egypt. water wars. Ethiopia's dam means crisis for Egypt. These are challenging things. They're hard. One of the opportunities that we see is that, one, Egypt is already committed to energy and water, and amazing things are happening. And American companies aren't taking advantage of the opportunity and the opportunity for businesses to be diplomatic as opposed to waiting for our politicians to be diplomatic and building these ties. And I think Shafiq is testament to the ability for a businessman to really build some powerful connections. So what we're proposing to do is set up 2 very targeted, high-level meetings. We're going to set the table with the right players from the West and the right players from Egypt to begin to really address some of the fundamental backlogs and get some deal flow happening and get some diplomacy through the business handshake that will lead to more local, regional, and global stability. Because stability in Egypt is stability for us. Stability in Egypt is stability for the Egyptian people. And without addressing some of these things, without getting people together at the table, we'll never be able to work on these things together.
First, we'd love to extend our sincere thanks and appreciation to Mr. Gaber for his vision, Dr. Zoghbi for believing and contributing to this extraordinary fellowship. We proposed the creation of an online platform that we named Lead Itkallem. Itkallem means talk in Arabic, and Lead stands for Learn, Express, Act, and Dialogue.
But how are we going to realize this? We're proposing a website with 4 distinct areas based on the acronym LEAD. The first part is Learn. This is where we'll have articles, opinion pieces, book reviews, book recommendations, and our signature piece, which is called Et Column, which is going to be based on the TED Talks, this idea where we can share ideas about the East-West dialogue in short videos that people can experience, download, and watch. The second part is for the artists among us. It's called Express. That's where we're going to highlight different artists, musicians, writers, people who are using their art form to engage in this dialogue in a different way. The third part's pretty simple, it's ACT. We're going to highlight the action projects we've heard here today. The fourth part is the most important part. That's the dialogue. That's what we've been doing here as part of this fellowship. We've talked to some of the great leaders in the United States, great leaders in Egypt. We want to be able to share this with a greater world community, Americans and Egyptians who haven't had the opportunity to travel like we have. You guys are our first target. Not only to go to the website, but to be part of the experience and provide us with content. We want your content, and we want you to record short videos. Shafiq, we hope you'll do a short video for us. But there's so many amazing opinion leaders here. We've had the opportunity to hear in this fellowship. We've had major people from media, economics, politics, from both sides. My goodness, we went to both the Republican and the Democratic strategy meetings and heard from very, very, very different opinions. But we wanted to share these. We heard from the Muslim Brotherhood when we were in Egypt. We've had the opportunity to meet with so many amazing people, and we want to share that with a much greater community. What's next? What's next with this fellowship? We can be passive readers of information, and we can actively engage in the conversation. We say what's next, lead at column. Thank you.
They could teach me much more than I was able to teach them. Shafiq, thank you for making all this possible. You brought a great group of people together, and you gave us an opportunity to learn from them as much as we were able to help them. To the 20 young fellows, I see a very bright future for you, and I see an extraordinary set of opportunities that you've had, but I think you're going to do really wonderful things with them, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your experience. Thank you. Dan?
There's a surprise, and I ask the fellows to share this surprise with our group.
On behalf of my all fellow program participants, I would like to present Mr. Shafiq Gaber with a small token of appreciation. We are all so proud to have taken part in this very unique program. We have all learned so much and look forward to continuing to support this program in the future. The world needs more people who invest their time and energy to help build such a global understanding. Please accept this small gift from us.